In this month of February, Streaming Things is brought to you by Chester Copperpot, David Malfara, Rabid Dog in a Barbie Car, Jose Ruben Cruz Rodriguez, Thomas Alexander, Emmy, Valerie, Stanton Valentino, Crystal Trujillo, John Collins, Ghost, Andrew Gray, Jen Robinson, Kate, Chloe Richardson, Kalisha Reeves, Kiki Newton, Kevin Strother, Jeanette Murphy, Casey McCain, and the one and only Enza.
Welcome back. My name is Chris.
I'm Madison.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Streaming Things. Continuing our Yellowjackets coverage. Full disclosure, that took us 4 takes because Madison's here now. Steve didn't want to be second, and he's got he's one of those guys. He's very particular. Wouldn't you say, Steve?
I'm incredibly particular.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like how you adjust the lighting on my face 7 times and move the microphone up and down a centimeter?
Yeah. It's, if you guys are watching this on YouTube or any sort of video format, you'll notice that our lighting's a little different. I'm moving the studio around. We're in between a phase of me kind of sprucing up our video a bit. So
Yeah, spruce is a good word.
pardon our dust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've never gotten to see the window back there before.
No, I'm
Might
gonna
wanna put a curtain there.
I'm gonna black that out.
We're
Yeah.
not in a dungeon, guys.
Yeah, we're in a nice space. Well, Steve, you're kind of a production assistant by trade, wouldn't you say? Was that a good word?
I mean, my business card literally is a production specialist.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
You specialize.
Yeah.
So it's in your blood, man, and I respect the good work that you do here.
Thank you.
Today we're going to be covering the second episode of Yellowjackets Season 1 in anticipation of Yellowjackets Season 2, dropping at the end of March. This episode is titled F Sharp. Thank you to all of you who have tuned in. You supported our Yellowjackets coverage, and you've showed out by listening, and we appreciate that. I think the listeners will grow and grow as we approach Season 2. We're just trying to get ahead of the curve, but you can help a lot by rating and reviewing the show in a positive way on the platform wherein you're listening to this, or sharing this, telling your friends, hey, they're covering Yellowjackets now. And they might say, who's they? And you could say, Streaming Things, duh, and make them feel stupid for not knowing who we are, like we're kind of a big deal. I think that's important. Gaslight them if possible.
Oh, you haven't heard of Streaming Things?
Ow.
What are you going to tell me next? You know who Joe Rogan is? Get your priorities straight, my guys.
We did have a call with Spotify, so we might have some Spotify video stuff coming on soon. We didn't talk about that after the call, actually, Steve. Do we plan on doing that?
Spotify video stuff.
You're the production specialist.
I have not had time to talk to her yet to get some questions ironed
No,
out.
I'm going to email her and get her to send the details in. But look forward to stuff like that. Only reason I said that, it was because it's like Joe Rogan and us. And we're not the same, but separate,
Polar
but
opposite.
equally important to Spotify. That's what I was trying to say. I'm blushing because of my comparison to Joe Rogan. I could have went bad.
It could have.
I did want to address something before we dive into the episode 2 coverage. I was reading some of the emails and feedback that we got on Yellowjackets, and a couple people were really passionate that Melanie Linsky's character, Shauna, was not in actuality attracted to Callie's boyfriend, Kyle. And we kind of knew that. I think we were playing around a lot and with the shock and awe of the whole situation. I think it's fair to say that all 3 of us would agree that the correct take, if you will, of that scene is that Melanie Linsky Shauna is getting off on the way her life could have went. Like she's revisiting the past. That's why she's in her daughter's room. And that's why she's looking at the picture of the young man, that kind of stuff, right? Like it's all characterizing her as somebody who's very upset with where she ended up in life and what her path could have been, right?
Very kind of self-isolating, I felt like. In that scene in particular, I think maybe she was just looking at, I guess, idolizing the idea of being young again. And that
she was getting off to youth.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't sound good either.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
You know
like
what I mean? Like the idea, the internet, whatever.
The thrill of being young and in love, and
yes, that's a much better way.
Not being able to experience that.
Yes,
it was taken away from her. But yeah,
I co-sign Madison's way of expressing that idea very much so. Yeah. Steve, any thoughts?
That's a fair point to that they brought up, though.
Yeah, I just thought it was important because we harped on that a lot, and I didn't want it to give that impression that
Listen,
we thought she was going to be stalking Kyle in a few episodes or something.
No.
Listen, you cannot blame someone. Sometimes you're in a private scenario, you're by yourself, you're taking care of business, as it were, and you can't be held responsible for what your eyes happen to settle on when the moment happens.
Sure.
All right?
Say you got a Sheriff Woody doll hanging around. Right at the worst moment, your eyes settle on it.
Yeah.
And you got a snake in your boot all of a
partner.
sudden.
His name's not Woody for nothing.
Reach
right.
for the sky.
To infinity and beyond.
Wow.
Anyhoozle. That brings us to our coverage of Yellowjackets episode 2. You can email the show. Stuff like those people did at streamingthingspod@gmail.com at any time. You can join our Patreon at patreon.com/streamingthings to get extra bonus content a few times a month, maybe even be a member of our Discord. Steve does awesome hangouts occasionally after he watches episodes of stuff and everybody gets to talk about it. It's super fun.
Yeah, I want to do that more often. That
was a huge hit. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Steve Fireside Chats. It's going to become a regular thing, hopefully, in the future.
Yeah. So you can join stuff like that at Patreon. You can also follow us on social media, on Twitter at streamthingpod, stuff like that. So please do. We like talking to you. But episode 2, titled F Sharp. It opens with kind of a cold open, the plane crashing, the rest of the plane crash there.
But what was your overall thoughts, Chris?
It's important to do that because that's what we do every time. And I understand what you're saying. And you passed the test.
Yeah, you know what?
Let me check that off. Steve is not suffering from any kind of brain disorder. Got it. Way to go. I'm so happy, Steve. Your mother asked me to do that. Steve, what
she's worried.
What are your, Carol, we love you. What are your overall thoughts?
Well, my overall thoughts of this episode is I think this was I like this episode more than the first one. The plane crash was what I was expecting to find. This episode was a lot less eerie because the first episode really starts off like super eerie and creepy, and it adds the element of mystery between the two, the separate timelines. And this one kind of, furthers the mystery, but it also, you're getting to know the characters a little bit more. We have a little bit better of a foundation of who everyone is, what are their motivations, and you're really starting to see this story kind of come to life. And that's why I really did enjoy this episode. Some pretty gnarly gore, I think, in this one, which was really well done. I'm not like a super queasy person, but there's one thing that happens in this episode like, no, thank you. So yeah, overall, I loved it.
Awesome. And it's worth mentioning that Steve is the one of the three of us that has never seen this show before. So I'm very interested in your thoughts as things progress.
I'm not going to watch ahead either. So every time we do one of these, it'll be the most recent episode I see.
Same, but it's really difficult because it's a super bingeable show.
Hard.
Like this, I watched it this morning and I was supposed to rewatch The Last of Us episode 5 afterward. And I had very limited time. And I was like, I just want to keep watching the Yellowjackets.
I watched, so after the podcast last week, I watched this episode just to watch it, and then I rewatched it last night. And while I watched it last night, I started the other one, and I was like, I need to stop myself.
You're going to watch each of them twice each week if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. But what were your overall thoughts on episode 2?
So taking into consideration, Steve, that this is the first time you're watching it. So I think me rewatching it, my opinion's kind of the opposite. I didn't like this one as much because I think I recognize that this is a filler, not a filler episode. They're definitely building onto a lot of plots that kind of happen. But I kind of liked how the first one is a little bit more, there's a little bit more mystery. We're still, learning a lot more as we progress into the season, but I don't know. I liked the season. I liked this episode for the purpose of setting up other things in the series. But yeah, I mean, overall it was good. There were a lot of things with Misty that I thought were really interesting, and you get to dive into her character a lot more. So
that's what I was going to say. For my overall thoughts are I love Misty. And that's why I love this episode so much. And it's a huge part of why I love the show so much. I think Misty's character is so fascinating. And props to the casting director because the fact that you have Samantha Hanratty and Christina Ricci both firing on all cylinders, and like they do seem like the same character, like the same person grown up. Whereas I think sometimes I see a disconnect maybe in Shauna's character between young Shauna and Melanie Linsky. Love them both, but like I'm not like, oh, that is definitely the same person.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And Thais is really well done too, I think, between the two time periods. But I think Misty is just spot on. Like that is her grown up, you know. Christina Ricci is a phenomenal force. Always been a huge fan of her work, as we mentioned last time.
Never change that hair.
Yeah, never.
And maybe that's what it is. Like it's so easy to do the hair. But anyway,
but before we started recording, Madison suggested we all get matching Misty wigs and do an episode with Misty wigs and glasses.
the final we should all wear wigs.
Okay.
I like that idea. Let's look at Amazon for Misty wigs.
Or if we do like a big recap for between season 1 and 2, right before 2 starts, and we do one of those big Hypecast episodes we often do, we could do Misty wigs for that.
Please.
Can we do a video where we're all in our Misty wigs with the glasses and we're all doing a YouTube reacts to a rat swimming in a pool and we're just silently.
We do the subtle head tilt. Yeah.
Perfect.
Please.
10 out of 10, that rat died horribly.
And we each bring 2 coffees and act like we're surprised there's someone here to share.
Well, we're all bring 6 coffees.
Yeah, and we mess with someone's engine, so they have to ride with us. Yeah, we'll dive more.
We'll do the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'll kill a guy.
Gaslight our dates into coming back home with us.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm a total Misty, you guys. I just want to throw that out there.
For as long as I've known you, yes.
I'm a total Misty.
I love that about you.
Thank you.
That's my favorite character in the show.
What?
What? Only if it needs done. Let's be clear. So we dive in. There's a cold open. It's the rest of the plane crashing. There's chaos ensuing. We go back and forth a little bit between this crash, but there's like the drink cart flying around. I don't remember if in this first section is where you see the young girl impaled and then the lady on fire. Or is that when they're landed? I'm not sure.
I think that's when they're landed.
It's when they're landed.
It's when they come back from the phone call.
So right now it's just chaos, pilots freaking out, and trees whooshing by. They're saying that, drop the fuel, which is what planes do when they're going to crash. They try to mitigate the chance of an explosion, all that stuff. Everybody's putting on their masks and freaking out. And then we cut back to 1992. So it's a 4th timeline that we have so far. I'm trying to keep track. This is Misty's room. She's being prank called.
By Becky.
Fucking
Becky.
It's always a Becky.
Nobody cool has ever been named Becky.
If there is in TV and film, if there is a high school girl who is a bully, her name is Becky.
Becky.
No if, and, or Becky's about it.
Yeah. And it's also the other young lady that you turn to if you want to mention someone else's butt.
Oh my God.
Becky. Look at her.
We don't hang out. Why are you talking to me?
You're a Becky.
I thought you would want to know what her butt looked like.
It's part of your thing. So she's being prank called by Becky and company. And they said something about her doing anal with Robbie Delgado.
In the janitor's closet.
And I love Misty's responses. I've never been in the janitor's closet.
For your information.
Like, obviously.
I've done anal with Robbie Delgado, but not in there.
Never.
I don't even know where that is.
Does this count as a prank call if it's just someone accusing you for 3 or 4 minutes straight?
Well, I didn't read it as a prank call. It's just her getting bullied.
Yeah. I mean,
down.
It's not a nice prank.
I mean, maybe if they opened with, "Hey, is your refrigerator running?" and she goes, "No, it's not. Why?" And they answered, "You had anal with Bobby Delgado in the closet."
That's fair. I guess my definition of a prank call is it is a phone call wherein there's no utility to it. You're not actually trying to speak to the other person, right? But you're right. It's that implies it was not. It's not lighthearted in any way.
I couldn't tell if they were calling because they were wanting to joke with her, or if they were calling because they were intentionally trying to, get a rise out of her.
Oh, my read is 100%. She's the black sheep of the school. They want to make her feel miserable and torture her. They're being bullies. They're mean.
Well, and the timing. So 96 is when they crash. I'm sure they're sophomores, juniors in high school. I don't think they're all seniors. Or maybe they are seniors because Shauna gets accepted to college.
Yeah.
So in 92,
she was a freshman.
Or actually Misty's younger than them, I think. So she's middle school.
9th grade or 8th grade or whatever.
Middle school.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
Kids are mean. And this is before the internet, or they would have just bullied her on Facebook or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
they had to call. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
When you want to bully, you have to actually call somebody.
They got one of those rotary phones where they're like 1. Oh, shit, it's a 9. I got to wait for it to spin back.
Yeah. And they had to talk to her mom first and say, can I talk to Misty?
Is Misty there?
I heard she did it. What if her mom was still on the phone? Like, remember how moms would do that back then?
Yeah.
Get off the phone. You did anal with Robbie Delgado? Get off the phone, Mom.
Mom, you're embarrassing me in front of my bullies, God.
Gosh.
And then she quotes Plato and they're like, they actually get kind of shocked. Like, you're so fucking weird, and just kind of hang. Like, it turns the tables
They're
on
like,
them.
this isn't fun.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that she said that's Plato after a beat, because when she was like, opinion is the wilderness between knowledge and ignorance, I was like, no fucking kid. Oh, it's Plato.
So it teaches us a lot about Misty, though, and not only her higher, her place in the hierarchy at school, but she's a very intelligent person, right? Is what that tells us. Because if you quote Plato, instantly intelligent, right? Nobody stupid does that. I'm being facetious, but it's true.
Yeah.
You don't go back to the Greeks unless you got something to offer in the brain department. But then we cut back to the plane post crash. This is where the young lady's impaled through her throat. The drink cart's flying. Somebody's just straight up on fire in the back. It's horrible.
Yep.
Was that one of the flight attendants on fire?
Oh, maybe. I just took it as one of the soccer team girls, but it probably was a flight attendant.
I don't know. I don't think there were flight attendants on that flight.
Oh, it's a private jet. Do they have flight attendants?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, somebody had to be pushing the drink cart.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was at least one flight attendant pushing the drink cart.
And that was her, because she doesn't get in the forest.
Yeah.
Well,
But who was the poor girl that got
I don't think
skewered in the
I don't
face?
think we ever met her officially.
Yeah,
but
she was like second string.
Was that the freshman that they're like, earn your seat, freshie?
No,
Ooh.
it was not.
It was not.
But I remember when I first watched the show, I thought that was Laura Lee. It looked like Laura Lee when I first watched it.
Was it not the freshman? Because that'd be really cool, because they were like, you can't sit here. And then if it's that seat that gets impaled, that'd be kind of neat.
I think the freshman conversation I remember.
Who's Mari?
Mari, she is on the soccer team.
Yeah, it's a named character in episode 2 that I don't remember doing when I went through all the names last week.
We just kind of met her. We kind of get introduced to her at the end of this episode.
Okay.
But I know it's not the freshman that they mentioned in the first episode, because the first that interaction happened with a young African American girl.
Okay.
And this was a white woman that got impaled.
It was through the throat.
Yeah. Look.
Which is the worst, because I feel like that wasn't an insta death. She just kind of choked and garbled for a while.
But so Misty had to crawl underneath the debris to get out, I think.
Yeah, and she's the first to get crafty. She goes to one of the emergency exits and starts to push on it. It won't budge. I think Thaisa is the first to run up and help.
Yeah, we see Thaisa is okay. Then we see Nat is stuck.
Jackie and runs up as well. Shauna's passed out on the Valium.
Yeah.
Okay, so according to the Yellowjackets wiki, Rachel is
Don't laugh, that's serious.
Is the team member that dies.
Is the throat?
Yeah.
Rachel.
I don't know if we met Rachel officially.
Red shirt Rachel. That's what we're going to call
Red
her.
shirt Rachel. R.I.P. Shouldn't have worn that shirt.
Shouldn't have sat there.
And then they force the door open and start to jump out. And then Shauna goes back to save Van, who's stuck like right in front of the raging fire with the flight attendant on fire. And Shauna moves to help her, but she can't free Van. And then Jackie pulls Shauna away from Van. They go outside, and there's this really cool sequence where, because of the chaos and the fact that she's heavily medicated, there's like this ringing in her ears. And, you do that whole, it's kind of cliche. It's a trope in TV and film to have that like,
It's the Saving Private Ryan.
I love it. It works every time for me. Right. In fact, in one of the 4 movies I've ever made, I did that because I was like, you have to do the ringing thing.
It was a romantic comedy.
It kind of was. There's chaos outside. Shauna does try to go back inside for Van, and that's when there's kind of an explosion, and they assume that Van is gone. And Thaisa is looking for Van. Like, she's extra concerned about where Van is. Misty hears Coach Scott calling for help. His first name's Ben, I believe. The camera pans over. We see the pilots are dead in the cockpit. And I don't know why I said it that way. He has a Coach Scott. It's like when I watch Peacock on TV. I think this is how you say it. And then, but Coach Scott has a wing on it, like a whole ass wing on his leg.
How did he get out there?
I was wondering that myself.
How did he get out there?
Well, the door was open, so that like the head coach
right.
fell out way above.
Yeah.
So maybe Coach Scott also. I'm also an adult.
Me too. Oh no, wings!
I hate this show. Sorry. So,
The only
reference.
surviving adult is underneath a wing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's a song in there somewhere. And his leg is mush. Van made it out. She pops out like, didn't think, here I am.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Her face is
From
all
Dexter.
Her face is all charred. Gives Jackie this nasty ass look.
I love this whole B plot of like hatred for Jackie, because imagine how awkward that would be. Like Jackie's a dick for that, but I also understand Shauna's her priority. She was actually being really, what's the word? Pragmatic in that moment.
Yeah.
Like we can all three die or two of us can live. Like, I get it.
How many times does it happen in movies and TV where there's like a situation where someone's trying to save a trapped person, but the building's going to explode. You got to get out. And they're like, no, let me save them. And they're pulled out like, no. And then the building explodes and everyone have died, but that person's a hero. Well, in this situation, unfortunately for Jackie, Van just was like, oh, silly me, my seatbelt was on.
And also they're, 17, 8-year-old women. So, it's like, you can't, it's hard to rationalize. Well, from Van's perspective, I can understand why she would be upset.
Yeah. Like if you were Van,
yes,
fuck you, but also if you were Jackie, I'm already outside. I'm already outside. Shauna, I wouldn't, So Jackie's like, props to her for even being in there. I would already been hoarding the food,
Right. Yeah. Well,
finding the biggest girl there and being like, look, we got to team up, I've seen Survivor a bunch of times.
Basically.
Form an alliance immediately. So I get it. But yeah, Van's pissed. And then Misty just without asking, she doesn't say a word. I don't know where she even got a fucking axe. I wasn't paying attention.
I have no idea.
She shows up because planes don't have those, I don't think. And who packed one?
She did. She brought it.
Good thing I brought my axe.
This is a private jet. I didn't have to go through TSA.
I almost want to say it was just this sharp piece of
Yeah, I don't think it was like an
plane.
actual axe.
Yeah.
Was it not?
I think it was just debris that had a sharp edge to it.
I don't think so, guys. You can't just whack through a bone with a sharp piece of debris. You need a tool.
The bone was kind of gone.
That's true. It wasn't the strongest bone. He wasn't drinking his milk.
Yeah, when they lifted up the wing and they kind of pulled him out, like the visual of his.
Yeah,
I was like, did
that was the gore thing you were talking about, right?
Did you need to cut it at that point?
Like
it was
Harry
coming
Potter,
off.
Chamber of Secrets, like bone bent. Like
and then you could like see the skin kind of just sloughing off of it. Like
they needed to
It was
take
not
him
pretty.
to Madame Pomfrey stat
immediately.
But
or what was his name that turned the bones into like liquid?
Gilderoy Lockhart.
Gilderoy, yeah.
Yeah.
If only he was there. I guess he forgot his flight.
Because he was obliviated. I get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, she chops his leg off immediately and then uses her belt for a tourniquet. She
Very smart.
takes charge. Help me move him. And everybody's just kind of looking at her like impressed, but also
Like,
what
holy
the fuck?
shit.
Yeah.
Because I would be shocked.
Yeah.
I thought you were the Play-Doh girl.
Yeah. She loves anal and medicine? I'm so confused.
You guys have been saying Plato, like the Greek guy? I thought you kept making fun of her for liking the
squishy stuff.
The squishy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the other squishy stuff? There's Play-Doh.
Gack.
Well, there's gack. That was a deep cut. But it's kind of like gack. It's silly putty. That's what I'm thinking
Silly
of.
putty.
Like you would stick it on newspaper. It's relevant to the 90s, guys. You could stick it on newspaper and pull it up and it would like have the words on it.
Tell me more about silly putty.
It's better with your coffee cup like that. Tell me more.
Tell me more.
And then it cuts to the title card right after the leg chop. And we go back to 2021. Misty's on a date, played by Christina Ricci, discussing her favorite turn-ons with a guy named Stan.
Bubble baths.
Escalators?
Walks in the rain.
Was escalators one of them?
Muscular calves.
I must have missed that.
Escalators. Knuckles.
Steamed clams.
Steamed clams, of course.
Can you imagine
calves?
steamed clams on an escalator in the rain? She would be beside herself.
She would melt. Just like, oh, it's happening.
And Stan's just staring at her.
And then Stan's like, oh, I'm interested in the normal stuff.
He's not having a good time. So he wants to call it a night. That's what he says. His next words are basically, I got to go home. I got to get up early. I want to pause here just to state, I have never been taken out of a show more quickly than I was taken out of, and I love Yellowjackets. In this moment, it was so, my willing suspension of disbelief was just gone. This guy, and Stan's okay, but he doesn't seem like the type. I'm supposed to believe this guy doesn't want to be with Christina Ricci. You know what I mean? Like, as bonkers as she might be, that's what you're telling me. Stan's giving Christina Ricci a pass right now.
But it's not Christina Ricci. It's Misty.
But we all know
So in your headcanon, Chris, this guy is sitting across from a woman who is actually Christina Ricci, who has been leading a double life of Misty this whole time.
Okay.
Like
No.
Like she would go film scenes in Casper and then run to school where they would say, "You like anal in the janitor's closet?" And she'd be like, "No, I don't." And
You're
then she
turned
would
on by escalators? What?
I'm just saying. Okay,
she just got off the set of Black Snake Moan to go on to
Can
this
we
date
all
with
agree
Stan.
that Misty looks like Christina Ricci? Can we all agree on that?
She does.
Okay, Madison, you're pausing.
okay,
but I'm leading you to where I'm at here.
yes.
But I gotta push back on you though, Chris. Like you've never been on a date with someone who you could be physically attracted to, but you were just getting all the wrong vibes from. So you were just, I gotta get out of here because I might end up in this person's fridge later.
So
Yes.
this is where perhaps my own life experience is holding me back. I am 34 years old. I have never been on a date ever. Period.
Never ever?
Period. In the sense that the only the only thing that I've ever done is have sex with my friends. And I've told you this before about me, Steve. Like,
Right.
It's just like a giant group of people that we all know each other. We hang out all the time. And then at certain points, two of us branch off and we go to the janitor's closet, right? Metaphorically speaking. That's the only thing I've ever done. And now I'm married to somebody that I was friends with. So it's like, I've never like met a stranger online or like at a bar and gave her my number. And then we met up at a restaurant and like, so what do you like to do? Like, I've never done that ever. So maybe that's where it's holding me back. I just picture if I'm sitting there with somebody who looks like Christina Ricci and I'm sitting there like, wow, she's pretty weird. But I suddenly need to find some steamed clams. It's like, he's just giving me good info right now.
We can go to the mall.
Seal
They've
this
got
deal.
escalators there.
And I would probably be like tricking myself. Like, I see what she's saying. They can never break. They become stairs. This is,
I took that scene like clearly Misty is not interested in this man. She just wants to get dick down. Like that is literally that's how I interpreted that scene. Because I just want to know, one, how did she find this guy? He's kind of, they mentioned that he just got fired, or
it sounds like she's known him longer than this date.
Oh, really?
At least the job thing. Because like,
I got the impression
you don't
told
tell
her,
someone that on the first day, like, hey,
I'm unemployed.
Prospective person I'm going out with, I'm unemployed. Will you foot this bill for this dinner,
But also,
please? And
she's
thank you?
talking about her kinks. I don't know. I feel like she would do that on her first date too.
Steamed clams.
Yeah.
Maybe steamed clams is a second date type conversation.
Not in Misty's world. She's and I identify with this, but she's what we call a habitual oversharer, which my initials
Why
are
do
TMI.
you?
Because I am that way. Okay. You're making fun of me.
facetious.
You're mocking me. Like how I accidentally took 10 minutes of the podcast to say how much I'm in love with Christina Ricci.
Listen, we get it. Christina Ricci is amazing.
We're here for it.
She's a boss.
I was just there to
We love
say,
Christina.
I get, I just feel like Stan, looking at Stan and his serial killer mustache, you probably should have let some things slide.
How awkward is that? Like, because we've all been on dates that aren't going well. And
Well, guess just me and you, Steve.
Yeah.
Just me.
Just to be
Oh,
clear,
that's true,
all
yeah.
of mine have gone well.
yeah. I mean, we've all been to parties, points at
Because
Chris.
we've
Right,
known
right,
each other
right.
for years.
Madison and I have been on dates with other people, and
Sure.
it's been like we've been in that situation where it's like, ooh, this isn't going well.
Right.
But I do like Stan's line where she's like, "You just said you got fired," and he's like, "Well, technically, it was
yeah.
interdepartmental redundancies post merger."
Well, the first thing he says is, "Oh, I gotta get home. I gotta be up early." She's like, "It's 6:00."
Yeah, I gotta wash my hair.
And I will say, I have known people like that, and that is the worst. When you try to give them an out, like, you know that you're heavily implying that you're not interested in having this conversation anymore, and they try to like prove you wrong. Like, oh no, we can continue it. Like, that is the most awkward. I get so angry when people do that to me. Like, I was being polite. And I've been in Stan's shoes in that moment where he's like, I don't have anything to do tomorrow. I don't want to hang out with you anymore. Like, do I have to say that? You're going to make me be mean?
This happened to me. I was the nice person, and I was like, I keep dropping subtle hints, but I also don't want to just be blunt and say, I want to leave because I don't want to continue this date.
Right.
I was on a date with this guy, And I ended up staying on this date for an extra 2 hours. And we went to a movie and did, everything under the sun for a date because I couldn't say, I'm going to leave. I was a sophomore in college. But clearly Stan is this nice guy. He doesn't want to say no, or he doesn't want to make her feel bad. Or I don't know. Yeah. But Misty is gaslighting him to stay on this date with her.
Mm-hmm. What was it, a good movie at least?
It was, what movie did we see? I think we saw Guardians 2. And he had already seen it. I hadn't seen it. This was probably notably one of the worst dates I've ever been on. All my friends know this story. But he talked the whole time, like would review
in the movie
theater.
Oh, that's even if you were already having a good time.
And I hadn't seen it yet. He had seen it, so he was pointing stuff out to me, and I was like, I go to school for film, man. I know what's happened, and I know what's going on.
You see this?
They're not really in space.
You see this right here? That's called a close-up.
But I just was like, you're talking during this fucking movie, man. Like, shut the fuck up.
It's not a real raccoon.
And then he grabbed my hand when we left, and I didn't he subtly grabbed it, and I wasn't paying attention. I was like, oh no. And then
So you're still together?
Gosh. Yep. No.
All my friends know this story because it's the story of my husband.
No. He tried to kiss me, and I was like, no. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
4 hours later, I'm like, nah.
Did you lean in and you're like, this was terrible?
He leaned in.
I'm going to stop you right there.
He leaned in, and I moved out of the way and hugged him. And then that was
nice.
that was the maneuver. But I let him down lightly, and he didn't take it very well, actually. So
next time, just let him know up front.
Just do the finger guns and leave.
No, I get it. Especially as I can imagine as a woman, it's even more stupid to be in that position because then it's like, oh, you're a bitch if you just say, I'm not having a good time. I'm just gonna go home, right?
Well, and I was 19, and I think now I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna go home.
Yeah, I got stuff to do.
But back then I was too nervous to say no, and Anyway.
Misty puts Stan in that same position, and he ends up people pleasing and staying at the date. Oh, we'll get another drink, and they continue their charade, if you will. And then is this do they go all the way through to this scene? I can't remember.
No, they go back to Misty seemingly taking control of the situation at the plane crash. She says she was in the Red Cross babysitters class twice. That's how she knows how to do all this stuff.
Double graduate. Yeah, because she's doing first aid on pretty much everybody who's injured.
Yeah, she's telling people make this tighter, get a bandage there, get cloth that, rip a shirt here. She's like, we need alcohol, and they're like, well, who has alcohol? Does anyone bring contraband?
They all look at Natalie.
Nat, because it's an all girls trip, so they didn't stock any alcohol in the plane, but maybe Nat's got some alcohol because
or an all minors trip.
She's
all minors trip.
Yeah. That's grungy and
she likes to pound beers and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was Kevin, by the way, because we meet Kevin, older Kevin, later in this show. Mm-hmm. Was Kevin the third kid that we couldn't name?
The
goth kid.
The one that we couldn't name for last episode because one was Rich or something. Anyway. So that was the important character is the one I couldn't name. It's funny. Proof that I haven't seen this season in a while. But yeah, she's doing first aid on everybody. They eventually find some isopropyl alcohol mixed with witch hazel, which is good for acne, I think, right?
Probably. I don't know.
I can't remember what you use witch hazel for. I've never seen them two together. Yeah, she's like, that's my stuff. Yeah. And then Van looks, was that Van that found it?
Yeah, Van's like, oh, okay, Jackie.
She's like, hey, that's mine. She stops herself, but it's like, and that's where you really lose identification with Jackie's side of things because you're like, okay, now you're just being a complete dud. You're worried about your luggage now.
Right.
There's a lot going on.
Again, there's a lot going on. People need alcohol for wounds and stuff, but they are kids, right? They are young people. So you can't really. It is like a victim, she's a victim of circumstance because she did do that thing with Van. So Van is already mad at her. Mm-hmm. And I can understand someone, especially at that age, who maybe not, they know things bad, but it's like, hey, it's my stuff. Just go through my stuff. Oh, you're right. Because she does relent.
Don't lose my extra batteries for my Game Boy Color.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know how long you're going to be out here. You're going to need those batteries.
I need to beat Pokemon Red and Blue.
That was my goal, to catch them all.
That's true.
But Misty
be the very best.
They don't want to tell the coach that Misty cut his leg off.
Yeah, and that's going to freak him out more, right? Mm-hmm. It's not good. He's like, is it bad? No, it's great.
You're going to be fine, coach.
It's not there at all. Can you imagine how bad that would hurt? Pouring isopropyl alcohol on like a thigh-sized flesh wound.
Yeah, oh man, Jesus.
Because even like when you're a kid, a scrape on your knee, that shit's like, Mom, I hate you forever. Why didn't you use peroxide? You even think peroxide stings when you're a kid because you don't know nothing about the pain of the world.
When you were a kid?
Steve's like, I still hate peroxide.
I still cry.
He winces. He makes Pippin the dog do it.
Oh, I'm Pippin the dog. I do this because I love you.
Stu. Back to 2021. Shauna's calling her daughter from the car.
Callie.
Yeah, she's not too good at making phone calls. Callie points out pretty quickly, like, hey, it's me, your mom. You know, it's like, yeah, you don't have cell phones work. I can see who it is that's calling. But she has her defrost the ground chuck that's in the freezer. Classic, when you're a kid, mom calls to tell you to defrost the meat. And you never, for some reason.
You do it at the very last second.
Or I don't think any of us ever actually did it. Do you guys actually do it? You took the meat out?
Oh, I would hear my mom like the door slam on the car, and then I would take it out.
I don't know why it's still frozen. It's whack.
I don't know. I poured water on it. I don't know.
So weird.
It's so fucking weird. Was she hitting a weed pen?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Not to be a square, but I'm pretty sure that's Mary Jane.
Yeah.
She's puffing.
Yeah.
Which explains why she forgot the ground chuck. Now it all makes sense.
I don't know if that's.
She was high.
She was high, but I think it's also just her being a teenager.
I was gonna take the ground chuck out of the freezer. That's a.
But then I got high.
Yeah, thank you.
Then I got
for a man joke.
Then I got high.
But then Shauna hits someone's car. She rear ends with her minivan, somebody's SUV, and he hops out. And his name's Adam. He's immediately really nice to her. She's like, "What is this? Adorable? Is that what you're doing right now?" Like she's obviously got walls up, but she's very obviously to me. Kind of flirty, or at least a little bit taken in.
In that moment, I felt like she was being a Karen. Is that wrong to say?
Oh, she definitely
100%.
sucked in that moment.
Yeah.
But she hates her life. Like, you imagine, like, you kind of hate your husband and kid, and you hate where you ended up. And
I wouldn't fault her for kind of hating her kid.
Oh,
yeah, Callie's pretty mean to her.
She's really mean to her.
Well, like you said, very young, right?
Yeah, I know. But at a certain point, you like.
You would never treat Carol that way.
I would never treat Carol that way. If I ever saw my nieces and nephews treating their parents like that, I'll be like, hey guys, come here. Let me talk to you for a minute. Let fun Uncle Steve turn a corner on you.
Mm-hmm. After school special style.
You treat them with respect, damn it.
Yeah.
They bore you into this world.
Yeah, they bore you in this world. They paid for your weed pen, Callie.
Yeah. Where'd you get that?
We know you ain't having a 9 to 5.
Dad's drawer.
True.
Yeah, so Adam starts to he's immediately taken in by her. He's got a coexist bumper sticker too, by the way. I just want to point that out.
Oh, I did not know that.
That's how you know he's cool.
It's a total Adam move.
He doesn't need to.
I have him in my notes as young hunky Adam.
So it was working on you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So okay.
So he
yeah.
what? Adorable?
So let me ask you
Very,
this.
very good looking man.
Very glad you're here, Madison, because obviously I don't want to speak on this, but I thought he was attractive as well because I'm bi, but I still never would speak for women, right? So here's my thoughts.
I'm straight and I was attracted to him.
We have the entire spectrum here, just attracted to Adam. Was this what we would call the female gaze? Like grabbing her arm to write his number on her forearm. And like, I took it as like pretty overtly sexual, but in a female gazy way instead of like what guys would think would be a way to flirt or be sexy. Kind of like the hand flex from Pride and Prejudice, you know, the infamous flex.
I wouldn't say it's as deep as the hand flex, but I think it's a small portion of the female.
Like when he
gaze.
grabs her arm to write on it, I was like, here it is.
Because what would be the alternative? Writing it on a note?
Oh, maybe asking her to write it on a piece of paper
I
or.
guess that's true.
Hey, type it into your phone.
I thought that's what he was going to do, was write it on a piece of paper. So when he started writing on her arm, I was like, oh, scandalous.
Yeah, see what I'm saying?
I think
Sir.
any of like the physical contact would be kind of spicy. But
Yeah.
I thought it was a spicy scene, whether he meant it to be or not. I don't know if I would categorize that particular gesture as a female gaze element, but I think it could be interpreted that way.
Thank you for your gaze expertise.
But I like that you asked me. Thank you.
Isn't he like his name's is it Peter Gadiot? Yeah, Adam Martin. Peter Gadio. Daddiot? That's what it's going to be from now on.
Zaddy.
I was trying to see what else he's been in. Peter Zadiot. Anywho, he writes the number of what he says is a body shop on her arm. He says, hey, the guy that works there owes me a favor. They'll give you a good deal.
That's one of the most sexual places you can go to.
The body shop.
Body shop?
I don't know. I want it home at the body shop.
That was We're singing all kinds of songs.
Unholy Sam Smith, right? Right?
Yes.
Most people know the words. That's not how I roll, baby. And we cut back to Shauna and Jeff in couples therapy after this. And the therapist, very appropriately, is how's the sex, right? Which I think is very intentional that this conversation is what we lead into. And not good is the answer, right? You know, he's been busy staying out late for the inventory database at his store, which is a really shady, vague non-answer for work stuff. And the therapist gives her advice. Hey, marriage lives up here, or maybe it's heart, dies down here in the crotch. That's where it dies. Like crabs. That'll kill it.
Yeah.
I think that's what she was saying. And and she says her advice is that each of them share a fantasy that they have with one another. And immediately Shauna says no. And Jeff's like, awesome. Yes. You know, you can see they're not on the same wavelength in the bedroom at all.
Do you want me to do, this is my turn to overshare. So
Please.
What a time
Hold
to
on.
interject.
Let me sit back.
Yeah, this is a good, I think
What is your favorite fantasy, Steve? Is that what you're doing right now?
Interior.
Setting the whole scene. Day. Escalator.
Dawn. I love it.
Dawn.
The cowboy briskly walks in the saloon doors. No, no.
Brokeback Mountain style.
I only went to marriage counseling twice. It was right before the pandemic, and this scene triggered me so much because of this exchange. Because the marriage counselor. So the first time I met with the counselor was just me. The second time was me and my ex, and the marriage counselor did a very similar thing. Like, you know, marriages are in the heart, but like if it's not like going on in the bedroom, and I remember sitting in the moment like, ew, fuck you. And this is why our relationship was so funny. Like, so I don't know this woman. It was a female therapist. I don't know her, so I'm trying to be polite because you know me, I'm a very polite. I don't want to offend people. So I'm talking about my dick, so I can say it in front of everybody here because we're all friends. We're
Sure.
But I didn't know I don't know this woman. I don't know how conservative she is. I don't know what her thoughts are. So like, I just say
Schlanger.
So I was like, stuff's going on down there, and I point at my crotch, right? And she just goes, we're all adults here. It's a penis. And she said it with such fucking stank.
Oh, she put stank on it?
There was, and I was kind of like already uncomfortable being there because of the whole situation. The woman who I'm in counseling with, who will become my ex-wife, is like, don't talk to him like that. And she like got in between us and got like in this therapist's face yelling on my behalf. And I'm like, counseling's going great.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's cool at least.
Yeah, and that's my funny counseling story.
Yeah.
But it's all because of a counselor who was a little like, let's get into that sex life, huh?
Yeah. Well,
I don't care about your feelings. We'll be working with downstairs.
Yeah,
Well, I think
how's the sex?
sex is very important in a relationship,
Sure,
I would argue.
absolutely.
Especially in a marriage that's,
Yeah, absolutely.
what is it, 20 years?
Something like that.
Somewhere, a long time, as she says in that scene. And that is a source of where things are not great, because we know as the audience that they've never, on Shauna's part at least, never been honest with each other fully since they've known each other. Because there's stuff that she literally can't tell him. And then we find out maybe as a result of that, or just as his own douchebagginess, he's lying to her quite a lot as well. But they decide to do the fantasy sharing thing, I guess. And it cuts back to Misty. She manipulated a ride home from Stan. I think we were all to understand by what we learned later in this episode, or it's not even this episode, but I got to be really careful now.
It's this episode. She fucks with her car.
Okay.
Because later
Yeah.
on the end of this episode, she's clearly fucked
Okay,
with
so it
her
is-
car.
She claims that her car wouldn't start.
So it is obvious. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I was looking at Steve like,
No, I picked up on it. Yeah, she's clearly messed with her car so that
and
it
I think she
forced
messed
Stan to go
yes.
home with her.
Okay, Steve's a smart man.
Because as Madison pointed out, she just wants to get dicked on.
Dick down.
Dick down.
Dick
You don't
down.
get dicked on, Steve.
Oh,
No.
maybe
that's a crime.
Maybe that's my own fantasy sneaking out.
That's the cowboy thing.
Yeah. Interior day.
Would anyone
yeah,
here at the
Misty-
saloon want to dick me on?
The fastest dicked on in the West.
Somebody dick on me. That's a fantasy.
You just
Where's-
see dust flying away, people running.
Where's that cowboy at? He's trying to fuck on me.
Hey, what were you saying?
Oh, I don't know. I interpreted that scene. She's using this guy. She, wants to feel pretty. Like, when they get the dick.
Yeah, because when he goes to drop her off, she's like, hey, do you want to come inside? Do you want to meet Caligula? Which is the famous,
Great
like,
name for-
crazy orgy movie, right? I mean, a real figure in history, but what I think of is the infamous movie.
Oh, well, because of that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's
That's
like,
the reason why they made that movie, Chris.
yes.
But Stan is like, no. And Misty's like, oh, you don't think I'm pretty? And Stan's like, no, that's not what I mean.
You are pretty.
Yeah.
He's like, if you thought I was pretty, you'd come inside. And again, worst type of person in the world. It's that pushy.
Phrasing.
And I pictured it. That's what she said. And even watching the episode, I was like, I can't wait for Steve to say that's what she said. And then he does come inside. So phrasing.
But I love how, like, she's like, they enter in, she's like, oh, she's acting like nothing happened. Nothing bad just happened in that car where she almost got denied her dicking. I don't like this. I don't like that. I'm referring. I don't like that. But yeah, she comes inside and she's like, all right, my bird Caligula is really cool. He's all show if he squawks at you, but just make sure to shield your eyes if he comes after him. Like, I would immediately be like, what?
Well, then when he comes in, Natalie's in there with her rifle pointed at them.
You crazy bitch.
Yeah. And he's just like, I'm out of here. Like,
He's like,
this
all
is
right,
like
I'm
19
going.
straws ago. I was done, but this is definitely the point where I'm gone.
Him doing that was the moment I Stan. Yeah.
Finally stuck up for himself. All it took was another crazy woman with a rifle.
I just love how he leaves, doesn't call the cops or anything. He's just like, bye.
Bye.
He was going to go all the way. Do you picture if Natalie wasn't there, was he going to quote unquote dick her down
I think so.
and like hate it the whole time? I think so too.
I think so.
I've been in that situation. There's only one thing to do. You just carry onward with your soldier.
Carry on, my wayward son.
We could talk a lot about the patriarchy and what that does, and why as a man, I can't deny sex without feeling like less of a man and all that stuff. But it's not relevant here. It's not that type of podcast. All I'm going to say is from personal experience, Stan's going to go all the way and hate every bit of it. But thank God Natalie's in there.
Yeah.
And I think
I was disappointed. I wanted to see Caligula. The pet person in me was like, I want to see this bird.
yeah, you're like holding Pippin, like, we're going to see the birdie.
I can't wait to see the bird. Do you think I could be friends with Caligula?
Yes, Pippin. I think you could.
goody. He has lots of friends, I bet.
I just realized how much Pippin sounds like Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, bother.
But Misty is happy, even though Natalie is clearly there to possibly kill her. She's so happy to see her friend Natalie. And this is the moment where I fall in love with the character of Misty utterly and completely. Like, the axe helped a lot. But this moment where she's just so unfazed by these kinds of situations, it's very scary. And for reasons that we'll discuss by the end of this episode, not good for everyone else. But I love that about her character. Like, oh, hi, Natalie. She's just completely unable to be a pure sociopath, I think is how you describe that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But she's there to show her the postcard. And we see a postcard with a little stick man triangle symbol. That's apparently very scary to both of them. I don't think we've seen it on the tree in the forest.
This is the first time we see the symbol.
Yeah, so she hates the symbol. This is very bad that I got this, right?
I was confused about the postcard. Did we see the postcard in the last episode?
This was the first...
I don't think so.
Okay, because when they're like, you know why I'm here? It's the postcard, right? I had a moment where I'm like, wait, did I miss something?
This is the first time we're seeing the symbol and we're referencing the postcard.
I think so. And then when she points the gun at her, Misty says, oh, you think, and then marches out of the room.
Bless your heart.
And says, hey, I got one too. And they banter a little bit about how do I know you didn't just send it to yourself. They decide to just trust one another. So neither of them sent the postcard. They agree to believe. So somebody else must have, but it had to be somebody that was trapped on I keep wanting to say island in the forest with them.
Mm-hmm. Real quick. How do you guys say LaCroix?
It's LaCroix.
Is that what it is?
I always say LaCroix. Why?
Okay. Because I always thought it was LaCroix, and Misty says, do you want a coconut LaCroix? And I was like,
I don't think I would ever say LaCroix. I don't think I've ever said, that's the first time I've ever said it out loud. I think.
LaCroix? That sounds weird.
She said it in a way that was really odd for me. And I was like, wait, have I been saying this wrong my whole life? Oh my God.
I think it's Lacrix.
Lacrix?
Pretty sure.
Lacrix.
Pretty sure.
Lacrix.
Pretty confident in that. Isn't that the thing that they have to hunt down to kill Voldemort?
Lacrix.
We're going to find 7 cans of Lacrix. But she has a tea, coconut LaCroix. spicy water, and sherry,
water.
which is like, I think I never had it. It's like the worst alcohol known to man, right? Isn't it like a British thing that you just you have a glass of sherry?
Sherry.
It's what we drink when we don't want to actually drink.
Having a finger of sherry.
That's what Pippin drinks.
Pippin the dog drinks sherry. I like it because it rhymes with cherry.
But I was shocked that, well, okay, so sherry is alcohol. I thought she was listing things that weren't alcoholic because it seems like everybody knows that
Natalie goes to
is-
rehab a lot.
Yeah.
I'm 90% sure sherry is an alcohol, right?
Okay.
It's not like, it's like something your mom would let you have on Christmas type alcohol.
Right. Well, which, speaking of,
Okay.
Natalie says, I'm going to need something much stronger than that.
So they go to a bar together. And I love the moment where, because Natalie, again, just got out of rehab. She's got a beer and I think a shot or two sitting with her. And Misty, as oblivious as she always is, oh, you got me a drink. And she didn't.
Natalie pulls it closer to her.
She
She's
got
like,
several
no.
for herself. I can relate to that. And then Misty talks about how she's in the citizen detective community, which is kind of like a neighborhood watch. So she's a woman of many hobbies. And they
Definitely
talk.
listens to My Favorite Murder.
Oh yeah, for a huge podcast person. We actually find that out later that she is. And they talk about Jessica Roberts, the reporter that everybody's been talking to. I guess she had approached Misty as well. And part of the documents that she has uncovered on her own, working by herself over the past however many years, she has a photocopy of Travis's ID. And Travis is the older brother, one of the two sons of the head coach that was in the forest trapped with them. And Natalie kind of perks up like, you found Travis? And then a man approaches the two of them, specifically Natalie. His name is Kevin Tran, and he is her goth friend from 1996.
Kevin with a Y.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's important.
Important to point out.
I wanted to say, did you guys, I like hyper focused in on this because I love props and details, but on the newspaper clipping, the first one where the headline says survivors request privacy after harrowing ordeal, it's like officially prop newspaper because none of the script, none of the writing is actually legitimate. It's just
Lorne Ipson.
Yeah, which I thought was like, that's kind of obvious.
Oh, really?
I found it obvious.
Didn't change it at all?
No, the whole newspaper, other than the article headline.
That is bad. That's really bad if that actually made it in.
Yeah.
Oh, like a prop where it's just mindless scribbles.
Yeah, because it's Lorne Ipson and it's just like mindless word, but that's always like a default font that you put into, paper that you just need to take up space before the actual copy goes in.
So like Word, if you start a new document, sometimes it'll have like a paragraph of this writing, so that way it can just show and
it's just gobbledygook.
The font, the size, the text font, or text size, all that kind of stuff. But that font was in the news, like the filler of the newspaper.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's called Lorne Ipson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a default.
Named after famed speaker of gibberish, Lorne Ipson from Canada. Never said a intelligible word. Named a font after her.
He appears on Letterkenny.
I was curious because she had some things that I was like, why do you have these things? She has the clipping of Shauna and Jeff's wedding, the picture of them getting married.
She's a creepy lady.
She also has Callie's birth certificate, a copy of it.
I didn't see that.
She has, I think we all saw Thaisa's running for state senator flyer. And then it appears to be a version of a People's Magazine or a teen magazine. I couldn't really tell what like the official theme of the magazine was, but it has the plane crash on it and then text bubbles saying, where are they now? So kind of like almost, what's the word? When you're
stalking them?
No, like kind of over projecting like the situation, or what's it called when you're
dick down?
No, not dig down.
Oh.
But they're idolizing the situation or making it bigger, or like kind of taking out the emotions of the situation.
Blowing things out of proportion?
Yeah, a little bit, or yeah. But I just thought it was interesting that Misty had Callie's birth certificate.
Yeah, I didn't see that. That's huge. But I mean, it gives the impression, or it shows you that, for years she's been obsessed with, her quote unquote friends, probably as she sees it, that survived the ordeal with her. And she's tried to keep tabs on them as much as possible, which is why she was so happy to see Natalie. And then Kevin with a Y, Natalie's really cold to him for the most part. And he says, okay, well, here's my card. And you can see on it that he's a detective now. You can call me in 20 years or so if you feel like talking to me ever. and Misty calls him goth freak Kevin Tran. Is it Tan? I think it's Tan. Kevin Tan. And then Natalie leaves Misty to just sit there, and she does grab Kevin's card before she rolls out. And then back in 1996, Misty doing more first aid. Travis is brooding. Natalie approaches him and tries to comfort him a little bit, and basically get his ass in gear because he tells her in this moment, "Hey, my dad died. He was up, he fell out of the plane trying to put a mask on one of you idiots." Mm-hmm. And she's like, "That sucks for sure. But you have a little brother that you need to take care of now." And Javi's like trying to get back on the explodey plane and stuff right now.
Right.
And he tells her to mind her own business.
Yeah. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And cuts back to 2021. Taissa comes home with Roombas, which is maybe like a franchise where they make sandwiches. I thought she had the robot vacuums at first. And little Sammy was like, "Fuck yes. Because sweeping's my chore, so this is great news for me."
If I lived in a household and she brought in like the robots, I would have that same reaction. Like, "Yay,
we got Roombas?
I don't need to sweep ever again."
But also pastelitos, which is like a little dessert version of these. Have you guys ever had pastelitos? Mm-hmm. Me, neither have I. They look delicious. Sammy's excited. She's late. She missed the parent-teacher conference, and so that's her olive branch essentially is offering these pastelitos.
It's a Cuban pastry.
Ooh, Cuban. There we go.
I did not know that. Those do look amazing. Wow. Guys, I gotta go.
We gotta get some of these.
Yeah.
And Simone is really upset with her for missing the parent-teacher conference. And she talks about how Sammy's not making friends at the school. And Taissa brushes it off. It's like, "Well, have you considered how much all the other kids suck?" And then, he's only in public school for her politics because education's her biggest arguing point on her platform, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's foreboding music as it cuts to Sammy and his pastelito watching TV.
Support public schools. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Support public schools.
I felt that was kind of him alluding to him understanding like what they're saying. Like he knows he understands that they're just keeping him in public school for the politics.
I think there's an element to it, but I think that
Jesus, they keep hitting stuff.
I think there's something, as we will find out in a little bit, like wildly off about Sammy. Mm-hmm. And I just took the foreboding music as
well, there was the foreboding music, but also like while his two parents are talking, there's this shot where he kind of creepily looks over his shoulder at them while they're talking. It's odd. There is definitely something wrong going on here.
The way I took it was like, "Hey, this pastelito is cold. And like, I'm really fucking pissed now." I took a bite and was like, "Whoa."
He like doesn't want to say anything. He looks at her like, "This mom messed up again.
This sucks. It's the house of lies."
I wanted the peanut butter and jelly pastelito. She brought home the banana pudding one. Ew.
Ugh.
It's like, and parents always do that. I remember my dad would do that a lot. He'd come home like, "Son, I got you a candy bar." And I'd be like, "Fuck yeah, Milky Way, here I come." And he's like, "Here's a payday, my guy." I'm like, "What the fuck, man? How old are you? God damn it."
Here's a
Slam my door.
Original.
We cut back to Jeff and Shauna trying to get sexy, awkwardly undressing on opposite sides. I love the way they frame this shot because they're each on either side of their bed and just like undressing themselves, right? Like it's the least sexy thing ever. And Jeff tries one of his fantasies. He's like, "Why don't you pretend to be a customer in my store?" Because he owns a furniture store. And she uses a British accent. Like, "Hello, I'm peeping the dog." Which is
funny because Melanie Linsky is British. So
is she? I thought she's like New Zealand or something, right?
Yeah, New Zealand. Yeah. But she does have an accent of
What if she did her actual accent?
That would have been funny.
I would have lost it because I love that accent. Peace off.
New Zealanders?
Yes. I'm just taking the piece.
Hello, Jeff.
Yeah, hello, Jeff.
I'm here looking for rugs. Wondering if you can point me in the right direction.
Like, how do they have sex without laughing?
If you did.
And she says, and I think Jeff's a dick in this scene. Like, she's clearly trying to humor him. It's not her fantasy at all. So they create fake characters, Hank and Tabitha. And she says she's there to return something. And he stops the fantasy, like, "Why would you be here to return something?" Like, he just gets too hung up on the furniture store aspect. Like, I don't even take returns after 30 days.
He has nothing else to think about but the logistics of why she's there.
Yeah. It reminds me of a story my friend told me, and I won't out them at all, but I think it's funny. Where they were trying this role play thing. And he said that she came in and said, "Hey, we have to hurry, or whatever they're doing. And like, so they're improving, right? And that's what you do in this situation. And so like Jeff and Sean are terrible at improv is the problem, right, Steve?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
there's not a lot of gifts being given. They're not yes-anding.
Yeah. So my buddy's
the
like,
thing isn't the thing.
He tries the yes and so he's like, oh, what do you got to go do? And she says, be late for an appointment. And, he's like, that sounds terrible. It sounds like you're going to the fucking doctor. What do you have, gonorrhea or something? Like, so he did the Jeff thing and like stopped the whole role play. So apparently this doesn't go well often.
This was like a really, not difficult, but like
it was a very uncomfortable thing to watch.
I felt bad for both parties in this because like there's nothing wrong with trying stuff out, right? And it looks like they're both just trying. Like he was vulnerable by saying like, "Hey, I have this fantasy.
Sure,
it's a little weird. Hang with me here. I'm just really attracted to being a furniture guy." And she starts to laugh at him at first, but then she's like, "No, wait, you're being vulnerable. I want to give it a try. I'm going to give this a shot." But she's so uncomfortable with being a different character. She could just walk in her normal voice and say, "Hey, I'm looking for rugs." But she keeps trying to do like different voices.
He's like, "Are you fucking with me? Are you making fun of me?"
Yeah. And he takes offense to it. And it's just really hard to watch. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It is. And she tries to bring it back. Like, "Hey, back to the armoire, or whatever." And he's like, "No, I'm going to go jerk off to Sports Center," which is weird. That's a weird thing to jerk off to, I feel like.
I see your eye was credenza over here.
Yeah.
I love that line.
But it also though a lot of the sympathy for him in this scene. I actually don't remember much about this show other than that I loved it and like the major plot points. But I think what we find out at the end of this episode is true, that the implication that he's cheating is verified, as I recall. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that changes the context of his fantasy completely because it's like he's probably fucked his customers. And so that makes it gross that's like, why don't you pretend to be some of the ladies I fuck all the time, wife? That makes it weird. So, Anywho, back to 1996. Jackie is talking to Shauna about Van. Hey, she hates me now. Mm-hmm. And then we cut to Laura Lee, who finds her teddy, which is
my heart kind of went out for Laura Lee. I have a thing for young people who feel very strongly about a friendship with like an inanimate object, like a teddy bear or something. Yeah. Like, I just think that's one of the sweetest, most pure forms of love.
That's why you like the Muppets so much and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I did have a teddy bear that I was very attached to growing up. And I think I didn't put it away until I was like maybe 14. Like I was fairly old before I put it away.
You're pushing Laura Lee in this point. Yeah. At that time.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. It's in that closet. I still have it. But so I feel very like, that's a pure form of love. And then to have blood fall on it.
Yeah.
And then she sees this really gruesome side of her dead coach, like skewered on a tree above her.
Yeah.
Like,
right as she kind of got a tiny bit of comfort.
Yeah, that was her one tiny comfort.
Break of innocence a little bit, I feel.
Mm-hmm. And that's Javi and Travis's dad up in the tree. And so all the girls come running to come look at it. And then, Jackie suggests they throw stuff at it. And then Van's like, "You're on fire today, Jackie." Oh, wait, that was supposed to be me, which I thought was an amazing line.
Yeah. Everyone's like, "What the fuck, Jackie?" Like, or I think they're...
I wouldn't say rocks, like maybe shoe or something.
Shoe or something, yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
See if it moves. Poke it with a stick. And then Misty, again, first to act. As soon as Travis starts climbing the tree, she starts tying a tarp and telling all the other girls what to do in case he falls. Really handy in a tight spot, that gal. And then, of course, the branch falls with the body on it. Travis is safe up at the tree. And then Misty kind of lurches forward to gaze at the body, as she does. It's just a rat in a pool to her. And then we see the stick triangle man on the tree as the camera pulls back before we cut back to...
What sort of Lost bullshit is happening with this symbol?
Oh, I forgot. I've never seen Lost, but I bet this is what watching Lost is like.
That's 100% a Lost movie.
I've also never seen Lost.
I've got all 6 seasons on Blu-ray.
You've never seen it?
If this show...
They were my seasons.
Yeah, I bought Steve's collection. It's not as weird that I own them. Gotcha. So one day I'll watch them. Maybe if we can do a Lost marathon with Madison.
I love
people
Lost.
Pay to do that. Pay to see that. I'm glad you like it. You're one of the few people that actually likes the ending too.
I think it's
you just don't hate it as much as everybody does, right?
But I think Lost is one of the best shows in terms of like writing characters. Like I think it's some of the best character-driven stories.
I did a video on the best TV pilots of all time, and of course,
the Lost pilot is amazing.
I've never seen Lost, so of course I didn't mention that one, and that was 100% the most broad. I can't believe you didn't mention Lost, which is the answer.
Yeah.
So they're like literally just at least watch the pilot, you know. Sounds like interesting.
Where is Lost streaming?
I don't know
I feel like that
what
might be
network it would be on.
I think like that's a Peacock thing. Maybe.
Peacock. It's how you say that.
I'm going to double check for you.
Don't say it wrong. People won't know what you're talking about. Peacock. There you go. Peacock.
Peacock.
Let's see. Lost is available on Hulu, Amazon Prime,
Okay.
Oh, you're in there.
Freevee,
Sweet.
I hate
YouTube.
Freevee. Freevie's like, what if Tubi, but shitty? And
What if Tubi? Hear me out. But worse.
no, I'm in.
But Lost is Lost one of those where it was all on television. It was all released
Yeah,
on television.
I never watched it because it was a cultural moment like Game of Thrones. Like everybody sat down, appointment viewing.
It was one of the
and I
earliest.
missed all that.
It was one of the earliest like premiere TV, like before TV. Because right now TV is like we live in the golden age of TV. But like Lost is one of the earlier shows, like with that and The Shield. All that where it was like, oh, TV can be really good. It could be prestige television. Yeah.
My only issue with revisiting premiered television shows is filler episodes, and they're so long. So it just takes a long time to get through them.
Yeah, a season of Lost is like 22 episodes, and they're hour-long episodes. Yeah.
That's wild.
And there's actually a very infamous filler episode in Lost where they're like, hey, here are 2 background characters you don't know.
Right.
Let's do a whole episode on them. And people fucking hated that shit back then.
Yeah.
It's the Lost Sister.
So it's a commitment to revisit shows like that, but
That's what I'm saying. If people paid enough money, I would watch it.
yeah. Yeah.
It's a possibility. People love that show.
But this is the first time we're seeing this weird ass symbol.
Other than on the postcards.
Other than
like organically.
Yeah.
We cut to 2021. It's a match cut to one of the postcards, and now Thaisa is looking at one. And then Simone comes in and says, hey, will you read to Sammy? He's having a tough time with me. So she goes in to read to Sammy and does a bunch of shadow puppets until she freaks herself out with a wolf.
She's really good at the shadow
She's very
puppets.
talented.
She was.
And again, Steve's into that.
I thought that it was a real wolf.
Yeah, it looked like one.
I believed her.
It was in the bedroom.
I like how she went like to these really obscure ones first, like snail. Nobody ever does snail, or at least I don't.
Yeah, the wolf one is the most.
Do bunny rabbit. It's the most common stereotypical hand puppet. And then she's like, bet you won't guess this one. And I was like, really?
Well, in her defense, that was like a very good wolf. It's better than this, what I'm doing.
I don't.
Yeah, you got to have like the curled index finger to get the eye.
Yeah.
But it scares. She scares herself. She has a flashback of a rabid wolf. We can assume was in the forest. And then she stops and goes to open the window, and which I thought she was putting him to bed. I was really confused. Like, what is going on right now?
Well, Simone says earlier, like, it's like Dracula's lair in there. He won't open the windows.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So she goes to open the shades, and there's a bunch of like serial killer shit drawn, posted to the window. And she's like, what is this? And he's like, it says she can't see me. The lady in the tree. It's never what you want your kid to say when you ask that question. So he went full serial killer.
And then he starts
saying, shouldn't have made my pastelitos cold, mother. And
then he starts saying, Sammy, 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 which
like
I thought
sing-songy.
Yeah, which is really weird and eerie.
It's definitely not a good thing to do.
It's never good to sing your own name.
No.
Steve.
Especially
with your teddy.
Yeah, I have 3 syllables in my name, so that's a mouthful.
Madison.
Sorry.
Start writing a song.
That was my intent this whole time. Keep going.
Madison. Steve went full in. Let me get my guitar.
I was singing the Pixie song Addison, but added an M.
Oh, okay. I thought you were writing it for her. I was like, do you need me to wait? No. But yeah, so Sammy's not in a good spot mentally. We cut back to Shauna once again prepping food. That's all we ever see her doing, and that's part of her
freezer.
That's part of her malaise. Yes, Callie, high as she was, never set out the ground chuck, and Adam calls her while she's looking at the ground chuck in the sink, trying to figure out what to do. Adam again is the guy that she hit with her car, and they flirt a little bit on the phone. He's pretty quick with his words, right?
He only gave her a day to call the body shop.
He's horny.
Only a day. Like, so you didn't get your car fixed
I've
yet.
been listening to Sam Smith with my dick out for 24 hours straight.
She should have been like, I don't know, dude. I'm a mom of a family, and I got shit to do. Can I have a couple days?
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think you played by the rules. Guess I'm going to polish myself off and watch Sports Center. Why does everyone say that?
That's the go-to.
That's all they do.
Have you watched SportsCenter content? There's some good polishing off.
I never have, but I'm going to now after Jeff and Adam.
Sports.
Duh. Balls everywhere.
Dan Marino's on there, I assume.
Sweaty men.
Ooh, stop. It's worse than an escalator for me. Trying to focus.
The ghost of Jim Madden. John Madden.
And his brother Jim, who tragically passed unfamous.
Let's hear their voices.
Today's the Super Bowl. Can you imagine how many wasted seeds are going to... I'm sorry. Is that why they call that in tournaments? Like, what seed is that team?
Ew.
I'm starting to get it now.
Ew.
I might like sports.
I've been doing sports wrong this whole
The whole time.
The whole time.
So we find out Adam is the body shop guy. He was being cute. And when she showed up, he was going to be like, just kidding, I work here. And he offers to fix her car for free if she accepts a dinner date with him. And he knows that she's married and stuff, right? So that's the implication. You seem like someone who doesn't play by the rules because she declines. And then he's a dick after that. Like, oh, well, enjoy the rest of your minivan, meaning like her minivan's in pieces.
Right.
Pretty good double entendre there, Adam. Not going to lie. And then she sees another rabbit in the garden, grabs a butcher knife, and then we see her like cook, skin, and clean the rabbit, prepare the meal because she's done that before. She killed lots of animals. Not to be fucked with.
I feel like she's coming alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. She's becoming her full self, and it all begins with that wascally rabbit.
Wascally rabbit. Well, briefly, we cut back to 96. It's the girls carrying the coach's body. Natalie hands a flask for Travis to take a sip. Here, this is how I cope. And then back to 2021 with Natalie drinking in a motel, I think. She calls Travis, and he tells her she's got the wrong number and hangs up. And then we cut to Shauna and Jeff, and the family, actually, Callie as well, eating the rabbit chili that she's made. And he's talking about boring work shit. Mm-hmm. Nobody's listening at all. And then they say, did you try a new recipe for this chili? This is great. And she's like, yeah, I killed a rabbit in the garden, skinned it and put it in the chili. And then Jeff and Callie are like, oh, God, that's crazy. You're so silly. This is kind of, I don't know if it's, go ahead.
I was
going to say, is eating rabbit
that was you?
That was me.
What does that say?
No, rabbit's a real thing, but I think what's messed up is the idea that this suburban housewife would kill and know how to prepare a rabbit.
I would probably say, like, wait, are you serious? And if she said yeah, I'd be like, hell yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, but she's already been living this lie for so long that it would seem weird, I guess. Mm-hmm. Plus, I don't know if you just kill like a rabbit in your suburban backyard and eat it, if that's even like legal. I'm not sure.
What is let's call the wildlife game.
Actually, I've got him on the line right now. Roscoe, you're on. And I didn't know if you were getting
I
us.
can imagine.
Oh, it's me, Roscoe, the wildlife game one.
I guess it's not like she's hunting it because, well, she is, but I don't think
it's on her property. He was breaking and entering.
Did she shovel it like the last one?
I think she
or did she cleaver it?
Knifed it, yeah.
Yeah, she cleaved it.
Okay.
She's right between the eyes.
But it's also, I'm sure there's so many rabbits in that neighborhood. How can anyone,
She's having a problem with her hydrangeas frequently.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But the chili's delicious. And then we cut back to 1996. The girls are starting a fire. And this is kind of a brilliant montage with the girls starting a fire. Some other ones exploring the wreckage. They put the Yellowjackets banner over some of the bodies that are left on the plane. Mm-hmm. Lottie finds her antipsychotic pills and takes one of them. Shauna, what is it? Shauna says they'll find them is my note. I don't even know what that means.
Oh, she's just saying that like, there's probably a beacon on the plane.
Yes, that people will find them. Yes.
They'll be here tomorrow.
Probably. Nothing could happen. Nobody among us is crazy enough to thwart that just for company and appreciation. And then Natalie, and we see Natalie kind of looking over at Travis. She's really into Travis. And then Thaisa approaches Mari. That's what I was talking about earlier because I was like, who the fuck is that? And Mari says, you did Allie a favor breaking her leg or else she would be stuck there with them. Mm. And then it cuts back to 2021, and Jeff is like working on that inventory or whatever at his office table or even the dining room table, I think. And Shauna approaches with the fantasy, like, I'm in the market for a new bed. And she's all randy.
Did she have her British voice, I think?
No, I don't think so.
I think she uses her regular voice.
And then I think we can safely assume they fucked on the table and then kept on fucking onto the bedroom. Yep. And I think you're right, Steve. Like the killing the rabbit, being more her authentic self makes her want to be alive again. It makes, does that make you randy, baby? Killing that rabbit?
I didn't even think about that playing into the role play aspect. Mm-hmm. Or at least the quote unquote fantasy on her end.
Oh, the rabbit stuff?
Yeah.
I think so. She likes killing.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe that's why she didn't share, because maybe her fantasy has something to do with her true
Yeah, it's true.
true elements.
What's your fantasy, honey? I think we should both get naked, smear ourselves with animal blood, and wear deer antlers and do anal in a janitor's closet.
I'm going to look like a Sasquatch. A sassy squatch.
I think we should go to one of them islands and pay somebody to run and try to hunt them down.
Oh, I'm getting turned on just thinking about it.
No.
Oh, okay. I was thinking maybe we just do my furniture thing again.
Can they be kids?
Marty B, how'd you get in here?
I'm sorry, I'm a rascal.
We cut back to 1996, and all of the girls are despondent around the fire. And Thaisa checks on Laura Lee, like, hey, you okay? And she's like, it's all my fault. I called Mrs. Brophy a bad word because I did a chord wrong in piano class, and it was F sharp. I called her a bad word, not out loud, just in my head, but God heard me, and now we're all being punished. Which I think is just like the stereotype of everybody who's agnostic and has a bad opinion of people who follow religion.
Right.
Think of Laura Lee when they think of how much they hate people that are religious. And then everybody's, I think it's Thaisa, it might be Van, says, what word did you say? And she's like, cunt. And then it makes all the girls start laughing after Van.
It is really funny.
It is.
It is. This is a great moment. And then Misty is the last to laugh. And because again, she's a sociopath. So she doesn't understand.
She doesn't understand.
What's funny.
She doesn't know what's funny.
Yeah.
She's just
Right.
laughing to fit in.
Which
Yes.
is also funny because, she recognizes that, oh, everyone's laughing, I need to laugh, but then immediately thinks about the coach and leaves to go deal with the coach. Like, doesn't even want to continue to be in the social setting. Anyway.
I think she'd be more comfortable if they were like stabbing Laura Lee.
Right.
And then, okay, I understand now. Here's what we're doing. She's
You
the
know
mouse.
what this
This is the
great
pool.
moment reminded me of? A future great moment I'm going to create by burning our coach's leg.
Right. You guys think this is funny? Check this out.
You guys have inspired me.
Yeah. So then Misty slowly joins in, and they all start to do their own little confessions now. Like Lottie admits to stealing from TJ Maxx.
She's got a lot of TJ bucks.
Just to turn him back in for TJ bucks.
Which is funny because her parents are wealthy, very wealthy.
Oh yeah, Lottie. Yeah, so it's just like a fun
That's
thing.
why.
Yeah,
She,
it's
that's why
just-
she has thousands of dollars of.
Yeah, she doesn't
TJ
spend
bucks.
the TJ bucks.
Yeah.
Misty starts playing with the fire there. We know what she's doing, where she's heating up some metal, I think. And then
Jackie pauses a very specific portion of the movie Color of Night.
to see Bruce Willis's wang, his schlanger, as they say in Australia. We did the Mad Max Fury Road thing. I keep thinking of schlanger. I mean, I'm always thinking of schlanger, but recently.
Tell us how you really feel.
And then Misty goes over to Coach Scott. She tells him first, which is kind of like a mean thing. Like, I chopped your whole ass leg off, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, what is it? So it's not okay. It is bad. And then she cauterizes the wound. Cauterizes the wound. She puts a fucking flaming hot metal piece against the flesh, which is, it's helpful to his situation,
Yeah.
but
and
very
then
painful.
everyone comes over and she's like, I had to stop the bleeding for good.
I mean, she's not wrong.
She's not.
Just the
don't
way that she
disagree-
goes about it.
I don't
Right.
disagree with her. I just don't like the way she likes it.
I agree. I'm with you.
I don't like that she likes
I
it.
don't like that she likes
Well, you want
it.
your doctor to be passionate about their work.
Yeah, but I don't want to be like in the hospital and there's a nurse giving me a catheter and they're just having a great time.
I tell you what, if
I
it's
prefer
Christina
it was
Ricci, I
uncomfortable
do.
for all of us.
Just do whatever you got to do. That's what I'm saying. Christina Ricci, I don't know how you got, I don't know when you went through med school.
Chris,
However,
Chris, I'm going to send you to horny jail. Bonk.
bonk. Oh,
Bonk,
that's the
horny
bonk. But before this happens, I think it's Jackie that looks over at Shauna and says, what about you, Shipman? Do you have any dark secrets that are bad enough to have landed us in this situation? And of course, we all know she's banging Jeff,
Yeah.
Jackie's boyfriend, and lying about going to Brown instead of Rutgers. But she declines, or at least is interrupted in that moment by the screams of Coach Scott. Back in 2021'sville, Shauna and Jeff are post-coitus, and Jeff is super happy to have just finally busted one.
He's
And
like, I finally sold that credenza.
Finally.
he literally gets up to take a shower and goes, woo! You know, which I don't believe I've ever done. But Shauna she looks pretty happy.
It reminded me of what's the guy who played Kylo Ren? I just had
Adam Driver.
sex and I'm about to eat nachos.
It's the best day of my life.
And Daniel Radcliffe is across the table, is just sitting there.
That is one of the best Adam Driver moments put on the film.
Second only to Good Soup.
Good Soup. It's the same show, isn't it? Is it from?
I never watched Girls. I think it's from Girls, isn't it?
Yeah. I just had sex and I'm about to eat nachos.
Which is
the greatest moment of my life.
That's a way better thing to do than hop in the shower. But while he's in there, she sees a text from Bianca on his phone. Tomorrow, usual place. Don't be late. And she just kind of goes, looks like you're going to be the rabbit.
Who's Bianca?
We cut back to 1996. The girls are asleep around the fire, except for Misty. And we hear in a second a few others. So Misty wanders off to pee in the woods. And she hears Laura Lee and I think Van talking about how much they need and appreciate Misty. And
they'd be fucked if she wasn't there.
If she was, so she's like, oh my God, people need me. They're not just saying weird things about me in the janitor's closet.
I belong.
And then she sees while she's peeing and hearing this at that moment, fortuitously, she sees a red blinking light, and it's the transponder, or I think it's the black box. It's the thing that would allow them to be rescued. It's like the GPS majiggy.
The beacon. It is currently lit.
It is.
Yes.
The Yellowjackets call for aid.
Rohan's about to answer.
Hopefully so.
And back in 2021, Natalie's getting in her car. It won't start. Misty pulls up and says, oh, what's wrong with your car? And it's like, I don't even understand how this is supposed to, like, this subterfuge is supposed to work. Like, why is she at this motel that Natalie happens to be at? She's like, when the camera goes to wide shot, she's parked in one of the spots.
Right.
Oh, hi. It's like, Misty is so
funny seeing you here.
Weird.
Yeah.
Do you think Nat like completely realized she knows what she's doing, but she's just rolling with it?
Yeah, and she does need a car. So, but she says, I'm off today and tomorrow. So she called her work. She took the 2 days off, knowing what Natalie was going to want to do. She bought her a coffee. That's why she's got 2 coffees, right?
I always buy 2 things so I can always share. I have stuff to share.
Yeah,
Misty,
like
so
Strombolis,
Knuckles, bubble baths, muscular calves. That was
Pastelitos.
That was one of her sexual things in the beginning. Was Knuckles?
That was a Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of her turn-ons
was Knuckles.
Was Knuckles. Clams, of course.
And
Steamed clams, of course.
Natalie says, fine, but I'm driving. My favorite part, and this is where I identify with Misty as a person 100%. She says, do you want podcasts or show tunes? Those are the only 2 options on a long drive. Am I wrong?
Which show tunes you hitting up when
any of them
on a long drive?
I don't know any of them. Soundtrack to Mulan, preferably to start it off.
Ooh.
Let's get down to business.
Wow.
To defeat the Huns.
Podcast and a show.
What? No,
Madison, do you have a show tune?
Show tune, probably Tarzan soundtrack if we're keeping it in the Disney realm. Phil Collins, my man. Love
At some point, all of Hamilton is popping on. That's happening if you're in my car. But
Phantom,
a lot
Phantom of the Opera. For me as well.
Ooh.
That's a somber part of the drive where you just kind of stare out the window and reflect. I like it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Let's go for a ride.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes.
And then it cuts back to, speaking of which, it cuts back to 1996. And the last thing we see is Misty destroying the transponder and ensuring that they're all stuck on the island for what we find out is what, like 15 months or something crazy?
Hot take.
19 months.
19 months,
Hot
almost
take.
2 years. Yes.
I don't think that was nice of her.
That is a hot take.
I do remember watching this for the first time being like, Misty's a fucking psychopath.
And the second time. Yeah.
And the second time. I just was like, I cannot believe she did that. Like,
It's a
just
great
so
way to end the
crazy.
second episode. And like, if you're not intrigued by these characters and all in, like Steve, are you all in?
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward. I hope there's a moment where everyone realizes what she's done.
well, I was going to say, I don't remember actually if that is ever brought up again.
I think a lot of the stuff is not even settled yet as of season 1's ending.
Okay.
So that's why people are so excited.
Okay.
Partially for season 2. It's like a lot of the stuff that you're wondering how it works out, we still don't know.
Can't wait to not have
Part
closure.
of me wants to.
Well, you don't have to wait that long. That's what's so brilliant.
I know.
Part of me is predicting that no one finds out because if I, as a adult Nat, adult Shauna, I'm like, I would fuck.
Oh, I'll kill you. Natalie definitely would.
Oh yeah, I'd be so
And
pissed.
Shauna. Shauna's not to be fucked with.
I'd be so pissed. I'm like, anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Craziness.
I think it's 100% likely that it comes out at some point.
Sure.
I don't remember when. Just because that's a great scene, right? Like I can't think of an analog, but there's definitely been something like that in other movies and TV shows, and it comes out, and it's like, ugh, it's not comfortable to watch. But that's the end of that episode, which brings us to our top 3 favorite moments. We're doing that first?
Yeah, top 3 favorite moments.
Steve, what is your third? We didn't come up with clever names for these segments like we always do. Someone even wrote in like with name suggestions because it was so weird that we didn't nickname them.
Yeah, it is weird.
Nickname them in reference to
Well,
the show?
So
for
we
instance,
usually have, these segments, we keep the same segments to like overall in any show we do, but they have custom made titles. So like the Easter egg segment for House of the Dragon was called Dragon Eggs.
Oh.
and for Last of Us, it is Bullets and Pills.
For the best performance on Last of Us, it's outbreak performances, like a pandemic outbreak.
In House of the Dragon, it was Mummer's Dragon. And then Stranger Things.
One performance to rule them all.
Maybe we can brainstorm this week.
That was Rings of
That
Power.
was Rings of Power, yeah.
Maybe we can brainstorm this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to come up with some names for these segments.
And if you guys have any good ideas, we already have one listener who emailed some good ideas. Send them in.
Yeah. At streamingthingspod@gmail.com.
By season 2, we'll have all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, that'll be our big unveiling anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, Steve, your number 3 favorite moment.
My number 3 favorite moment is pretty much one of the last scenes of the episode, and that's Misty. There's going to be a theme in my favorites.
Yeah.
It's Misty teaming up with Nat. Just the whole like pulling up, like, oh, hey, is your car? You having trouble with your car? Weird about that you're having trouble with your car, and I'm here. And she has the coffee.
I was just running some errands.
I really like the Natalie character. I mean, Juliette Lewis is awesome. I think I prefer the young Natalie because I don't know, she hasn't lived, I assume, like an awful life that adult Natalie does. So I'm excited to see more of her. She's already one of my favorite characters, Natalie. But also Misty is
Plus,
so
you're
much.
a huge Boba Fett fan.
What?
She's in Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah, she is. Oh, okay. Yeah, she is.
Sophie Thatcher. Yes.
But also like Misty is such a fun character to watch. Like she's psychotic, she's crazy, I think, I'm getting the vibe that she's the quote unquote villain of the show. I think that's safe to say. But she's one of those villains that's like fun to watch. Like, what is she getting? What is she getting into this week? So seeing the two most, in my opinion, interesting characters that I want to know more about and I like watching are now going on an adventure together. So I'm really excited for next week because of this scene.
Awesome.
Nice.
Madison, your number 3.
My number 3 is when Laura Lee tells everyone that she called her piano teacher a cunt.
In her head.
And that's why the plane crashed. And then, it's just kind of a moment where it's a, easing the mood moment. Everyone kind of has like a, just a heart to heart about, sharing some crazy shit that they do. But I like that scene. I thought it was funny.
That was almost my number 3. I was bouncing back and forth. I have it Fire Confessions as my on my short list.
Fire Confessions.
Oh, I like that.
It's the name of a new reality show I just started.
Confessions are fire.
These are fire. But my number 3 is the reunion between Natalie and Misty when she's trying to bring Stan in to be Dicketh down, and Natalie's just hanging out in there with her hunting rifle. Just for Misty, it's all for me. I love Juliette Lewis, but it's just for Misty being like, "Oh, hi," like so pleasantly surprised to see her old buddy there. Like, yes, game is on. Game on is kind of her vibe there. I love it so much. So it's a perfect encapsulation of how bonkers she is, completely unfazed. Steve, your number 2.
My number 2 is the Fireside Confessions scene. It's like you guys have mentioned. It's really fun. It's a fun moment of brevity. I'll always pop for a show that uses the word cunt in a funny way. So everything about it. It tells you a lot about Laura Lee as a character. And I have a soft spot for, and she's still hugging her teddy bear, poor thing.
And we get to see them all being kids, being friends briefly
For
amidst
the
all the
first time-
chaos.
First time after the crash.
Yeah.
I'm watching Laura Lee. I'm like, oh, you're really Jesus-y. You're an adorable kid. I hope you don't grow up to be like super into Chick-fil-A stuff.
But the odds are high. Madison, your number 2.
My number 2 is young Misty smashing the plane. What did you call it?
Transponder?
Transponder.
I think that's right.
I think I called it transmitter or something. But
That
anyway,
works too.
Yeah, breaking the thing that it's essentially going to save them.
The blinky box thing.
Yes, but
That's what it's officially
Technical
called.
term, yeah.
I went to
Blinky
flight
box
school.
Yeah.
And now we're doing about the blinky box thing that we put on the wingy thingy.
It just even rewatching it a second time, it made me feel so angry. I just was like, oh man, like come on. So yeah,
the cause of many deaths and 18 months and 30 days of pain. My number 2 is the montage where they kind of go through the wreckage. They lay the Yellowjackets banner. They're starting the fire. I'm a huge fan of Portishead, which is playing during that kind of montage. I love that song. And I just think it's a distilled version of everything that I love about this show. Even like the Yellowjackets team banner over the bodies is such a tongue-in-cheek, like, this is the show. I loved it so much. I love that scene. Steve, you're number 1.
My number 1 is Misty's date with Stan. I think that's the scene we've spent the most time talking about in this episode.
Yeah.
For a reason. There's a lot going on. It's awkward. It's kind of funny. It's kind of awful. Christina Ricci is killing it. I love how awkward the guy, I don't have the actor's name in front of me, but the guy who's playing Stan is doing a great job of just kind of like,
Funny story. I put Steve in my notes.
Oh, because
every single time. No, like literally accidentally, but I just wanted to say that's funny.
No, it's okay. No, I see how it really is. Okay.
I thought his name was Steve until anyway.
Stan the man. Stan is the manest. But yeah, that's my number 1, Misty's date.
Gotcha.
Steamed clams.
My number 1 is when Misty cuts off Coach Scott's leg.
Awesome moment.
I think it's kind of the turning point of, Misty's character kind of rising to the moment and showing her skills, and that she's not there to fuck around, and getting the respect that she thinks she deserves from these people. So, yeah. And it was just so crazy. Fucking chopped a man's leg off.
Yeah, I think the first time through watching it, it's like, there's some gore in the first episode, but this episode you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's way worse.
My favorite moment is the dinner scene, or specifically the fact that Shauna cooked the rabbit and was feeding it to them. I think Shauna feels like the protagonist of the story, even though it's an ensemble story. And I just love Melanie Linsky anyway. So I feel like I identify a lot with her, like on an emotional level from past things that she's done. And it's kind of a trope to have like people underestimate your main character and do like the way that this scene serves it up. Pun intended. It's kind of a tropey thing to do, but it gets me every time where it's like this hidden skill or facet of a person that the other characters aren't privy to, but it's just them in the audience that get to enjoy that together. So, and I think it's a moment for Shauna realizing what empowers her is like, with things that she not only misses when she was going to Brown and had an exciting whole life ahead of her, but kind of misses what we haven't seen yet, but we can assume is her becoming a badass in the wilderness out there and being a survivor there and like, living primally, like that seems to excite her. And I think that's an interesting part of her character. So that's why it's my number 1, which leads us to some Easter eggs, which for me, I'm going to let you guys take it away because this is 100% all just songs that I noticed.
Yeah.
Same here. I didn't get a lot other than the songs.
So you guys can just fire them off.
The landline lips in Misty's bedroom at the beginning. I don't know if you saw those. Yeah.
That's a good
Very
pull.
90s.
Good pull. Steve?
Oh, I just found songs as well.
Well, you can just name a song. And
Okay.
I'll
Mother
whip
Mother
hand.
by Tracy Bingham.
Yep.
Boom.
Boom. There we
That
go.
was during the leg amputation.
Is it Tracy Bingham or the Veronicas?
I thought it was Tracy Bonham.
Bonham. That might be a typo. Sorry.
I thought it was the Veronicas.
And
Doesn't matter. I only actually knew 2 of these bands. Portishead being one of them. Because Glory Box is a banger song.
Okay, I was going to say, what's the Portishead?
Glory Box.
Glory Box.
Love it. I'm going to go listen to it after this.
Kick It by Peaches, which was
Love Kick
when
It by Peaches.
Nat was in the motel.
Yeah.
Yeah, calling Travis.
Yeah, we got Hold On by Wilson Phillips, Cherish Nostalgia by Devin S. Norris, Medusa by Noonday Devils, and I didn't know who sang Confetti. I think I looked it up. I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Bean or Bine? Like a Michael Bine situation?
I don't know that one.
Michael Bean like situation maybe?
I don't know. We could also bring up The Color of Night.
Color of Night,
yeah.
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis's dick
Yeah,
is kind of an Easter egg.
Yeah, when is it? When isn't it not? Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
But I felt like there wasn't a whole lot.
There wasn't a ton.
Yeah. Well, I think when they're in the forest.
Yeah.
so-
That tree is very 90s. Look at this.
right.
They don't make them like that anymore.
Yeah.
That's before the Japanese Beatles came over and, you could just make some shit up.
Well, I don't know if it's an Easter egg, but the whole like leaving the plane and there's the sounds dropped out, but you just hear the white noise. Mm-hmm. That's like a very common trope, like you said. That always makes me think of Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
Tom Hanks does that during D-Day, and a lot of other movies do the same thing. Mm-hmm. That could be an Easter egg.
Sure,
maybe.
Sure, if you're reaching, and we are.
We're reaching. I'm reaching for the coach.
Call me Jack Reacher, baby.
Coach.
Wait, you're really far up there. Never mind. Just to throw a rock at you. Now it brings us to our last segment, our favorite performance of the episode. I think there's going to be some overlap here, but Steve, who's your favorite? Who are you going to go with?
It's Christina Ricci. Yeah, that is my favorite performance of the episode.
It's mine as well.
That is such a strong introduction to this character. I think she plays her so wonderfully, just off kilter. She's bubbly, right? She's a bubbly character, but she's so unnerving and unsettling. And it's captivating to watch because you're kind of just like, this is a little bit funny. It's morbid. It's warped. I'm really loving what she's doing.
Yeah.
And all the way up to when Nat, accosts her in her house with a rifle. She's like, "Oh, hey, you're here. Come on back." Just the way that like just rolled off of her was fascinating.
Just like annoyingly chipper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But mine was young Misty, Sammy Hanratty.
Nice.
Yeah. I think, we're learning a lot about Misty in this episode. We have a lot of adult Misty, a lot of young Misty, but I think the way that Christina Ricci, utilized her version of Misty, I think Sammy Hanratty also did a really good job with young Misty as well.
I agree. I think they make Misty like an all-timer of a character, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Very cool. That brings us to the end of our coverage of the Yellowjackets episode 2, right at the buzzer too, because we got some other stuff to record here.
Absolutely.
But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and look forward to our coverage of season 2. Madison and us are going to stick through all the way through the end of season 1 and then carry through season 2. So stay with us and email us questions and comments and concerns anytime you feel the need. That's all the time we have for right now. My name is Chris.
My name is Madison.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Streaming Things. Happy streaming.
It's the end of the episode in the month of February, the month of love. So it's time to show some love to our brand new patrons this month. In our Try Before You Deny section, we welcome David Malfara. The Marty B VIP producers, we welcome Tanmay Jane, Garrett Pratt, Michael Brook, Professor Beth RN, Veronica, Ode Biankers, Ibsliz, Droog, Samuel T, Drew Watkins, Brett Logue, Joseph Bowen, Kaylee Sampson, Nick, and Stephanie Bennett. In the Chocolate Pudding Producers section, we welcome none other than Renzo20, Claudia Garver, Kristen Glenn, Amanda Brown, John Cavett, Bruce Cullum, Maria Rojas, Candace Hensley, Logan Loftus, Hannah W., Kenneth Singletary, Matthew Unden, Carol Ann Quinn, Dan Wells, Max Grabinski, Kelly Nealon, Hannah T.S., Aurelio Reyes, Valerie Frazier, and Andrew Edelman. And finally, in the Friends Don't Lie producers tier, we welcome Baby Bella Twinkie Butt of Spotty Bottom. Maybe the greatest patron name in the history of patron names. And that has been our brand new patrons that we want to show our love to. Thank you.